The older IMDb reviews of 1967's Operation Pietro by Lucio Fulci, they read as such. J. Steed on the 5th of April 1999 gave it a 2 out of 10. Misshapen and obnoxious. Misshapen, obnoxious, Z-grade film about the stealing of the Michelangelo's Pieta, in which both Heinz Rühmann and Edward G. Robinson somehow seem to have been mistakenly landed in. One indeed feels pity for them. Apparently this is a kind of sequel to The Father Brown, based on the stories by G.K. Chesterton. Imagine somehow the great Chesterton having any involvement with anything that inspired this picture. Films with Rühmann, man, all those involved should have been excommunicated. I'd like to read out this now, 3 out of 10. Forget it. P13RO, 23rd of February 2004. Just a copy of another movie, Operazione San Gennaro, realised in hurry to try to repeat its success. The plot is substantially the same, it is simply shifted from Naples to Rome, but without the humour and the style of the first one. Many of the secondary characters are the same in both the movies. There is nothing particularly funny or smart in it, but for some strange reason this movie had more success outside Italy than the original, that is still broadcasted sometimes on the national television. 5 out of 10 from Hail Devilman, 12th of October 2006. Lucio, is that really you? Was this a comedy? This played a late night cable channel recently. I saw it just because it had Lucio's name on it. Il Maestro manages to talk Edward G. Rico Robinson into making a cameo in this heist caper. I hope Robinson needed the paycheck bad enough. 4 bumbling goofballs try to steal great art in Rome, led by a foppish type, despite his lack of cash. They cause one mishap after another. We have a sea captain wannabe, the hero, and one of the creepiest looking guys I've ever seen, like Jay Leno with his head flattened vertically. It's a good thing I had several beers in me when I saw this, otherwise it might never have been watchable. Western Fulci fans won't dig it. It's not a horror flick. Euro fans might. He did do other genres, but was he serious here? I still can't tell. I think I'm going to read now. Bunwell 1976 gives it 6 out of 10. Operation St. Peter's, that's the translation into English. Lucio Fulci 1967. This was published on the 14th of August 2008. This is yet another caper in the broadly comic style of the classic Big Deal on Madonna Street 1958. Actually, it's a semi-sequel to Dino Risi's The Treasure of San Gennaro 1966. Via the presence of both of 3 incompetent thieves, the movie opens with them drilling through the floor of a building, believing it will lead into a museum, but they find themselves inside a prison cell where the hero is currently confined. Besides, it's one of numerous films in this vein which populated Edward G. Robinson's latter-day career. One further link to an earlier film is the fact that a previous James Taunt adventure with the same star, Lando Buzzanca, which I watched recently, also involved a theft from the Vatican, the St. Peter's of the title. Incidentally, the operation isn't the actual robbery itself, which committed on the spur of the moment by Buzzanca in a totally casual manner, making off with Michelangelo's Pieta statue on a forklift in broad daylight. Is treated almost like child's play by director Fulci, well known for his anti-clerical views, but rather the ultra-organised ecclesiastical retrieval of the missing item, which at one point is even compared to the work of the mafia. In fact, we see various priests doing incredible stunts on motorbikes and such, which renders the second half of this patchy offering agreeably irreverent. Still, there are a few undeniable belly laughs. When Buzzanca is forced to confess the crime to a priest by his girlfriend they met during a failed snatch and grab attempt and with whom she immediately fell in love, since he happens to be a dead ringer for her late husband. We hear the man in the confessional tumbling down from fainting. Another is when the trio of crooks are discovered lying about in their hideout by Buzzanca and a cardinal, Heinz Rühmann. The statue is no longer there, so they think that the man had been murdered by Robinson's gang. However, they had only passed out from overeating, given them in exchange for the Pieta, not having had a decent meal in some time, and in fact, one of them wakes up just in time to burp vigorously and loudly. Also, during the lengthy climactic chase, a car with 2 priests inside is bumped into by another vehicle and torn in half. Also among the parties to set out in pursuit of the thieves are a group of laid-back and constantly chanting monks who use a derelict truck for the journey, so that, when they finally arrive on the scene, the operation has just wrapped. Robinson is given a nice role as a former big shot, but who cracked after being beaten up by his own cronies. He now flicks between a semi-senile nature and his former bloodthirsty self. Incidentally, it was rather strange to watch the Hollywood veteran in the presence of scantily clad female assistant Uta Levka. Reportedly, Fulci was unimpressed by the actor's legacy and seems to have had little patience with Robinson when the latter couldn't remember his lines. Incidentally, the director didn't even have a kind word for his own film, calling it a piece of crap. Anyway, also notable in the cast is Jean-Claude Brialy, appearing atypically as a speech-impaired Sicilian stud. Though married, he uses his dubious skills as a crooner to seduce and consequently live off every rich old lady that crosses his path. And I suspect 5 minutes, 20 seconds is enough time to speak about Operation San Pietro.